Greetings and salutations. This is the voice of Loquacious of Herd, bringing you his afterthoughts on My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, Season 5, Episode 5, titled Tanks for the Memories. I heartily suggest you find and watch the episode itself, sans commentary, before proceeding with either this Afterthoughts review or viewing my full reaction, which is hosted at the link in the description. Be warned, this Afterthoughts review will contain spoilers for this episode. With that out of the way, a note before we move on to the review itself. This spoken herd review will be relatively brief, as there was a more extensive written herd segment produced for this episode. That written herd segment is available in Google Drive, under details in the Blind Reactions description. Now, this is clearly the season of feels, and I mean that in a good way. I like it when My Little Pony decides to explore some slightly deeper than usual issues, and in this episode they tackle a really major one, grief and loss. Now, since this is a TV-wise show, of course they aren't very likely to kill off a character or one of their beloved pets, but there are ways to explore the concepts of that sort of grief and loss associated with death without taking it to that particular extreme. And I feel the way they found for this episode works very, very well indeed. In short, Tank the Tortoise is preparing to hibernate. He'll be out of the picture for several months. This is a surprise to Rainbow Dash, who takes this upcoming separation very, very hard. Now, I feel this premise works for Rainbow Dash in a way that it wouldn't for any of the other main characters in the show. Dashie has already been shown to be the sort of pony who lives in the moment, one for whom tomorrow seems like it may never come, one who, for example, in Daring Don't, counts down the days until the next book in her favorite series is released, and when she suddenly learns she's got even longer to wait than she expected, she simply can't deal with it. She has to do something about the delay right then. Likewise, in Read It and Weep, Rainbow Dash, when confined to a hospital bed for a few days after breaking her wing, says that it might as well be a few months, or a few years, because that's how she perceives and experiences time. So while any of the other main six would probably treat the unexpected news that their new pet would have to hibernate through the winter with a bit of surprise and a touch of sadness, for Rainbow Dash, the thought of losing Tank to a long sleep for several months must feel like losing him for decades, even forever. Her emotional reaction is certainly over the top, but it's an over the top that is totally consistent with Rainbow Dash's established character. So, we shift right into an exploration of the Kubler-Ross model of the 5 stages of grief. Rainbow Dash starts off strongly in denial, refusing to believe that Tank must hibernate and willfully ignoring any evidence to the contrary. Once it becomes clear that she can't deny what's coming, she shifts into stage 2, anger, and gives us some amazing faces. From there, it's on to stage 3, bargaining. This winds up being one of the less obvious and more drawn-out stages in this particular story. Effectively, Rainbow Dash tries to strike a bargain with the universe. She will give up everything she loves most about her favorite season of the year, winter. Sacrificing the skiing, the skating, the snowball fights, making snow ponies, drinking hot cocoa by a roaring fire, all of which she loves. And she'll bust her backside in making that sacrifice, going up against all of Cloudsdale if she has to. If, in exchange for giving all that up, the universe will not take Tank away from her. Clearly, she loves Tank a lot. Alas, not only do her efforts ultimately backfire, producing a nuclear winter, but as is the case with the bargaining stage of grief, the bargains won't work. And so Rainbow Dash crashes into stage 4, depression. This show can be quite skillful at tugging heartstrings, so good at it that it makes me proud, legally proud on occasion. Eventually, with the help of her friends, Rainbow Dash comes to the final stage, acceptance. Tank must depart from her life for a time, but even though that time will feel like far too long to a pony like Rainbow Dash, at least it's not a permanent separation. In the end, I felt that the episode did a very good job of showing the Kubler-Ross model. Although in practice, the process of grief is rarely so straightforward. It does not move so simply, swiftly, and steadily through the various stages. In life, the process can jump around and backslide. It can often be more messy and complicated. But for a tale that's serving to introduce the concept in the world of Equestria, I liked their handling of it. I'm also pleased to note that Rainbow Dash is not punished for her actions in trying to keep Tank by her while she was deep in the bargaining stage, although I've occasionally heard criticism of this episode on that very point. But other ponies have caused problems on a large scale and not had to make restitution. From parasprite invasions to mass poisoning ponies with poorly baked muffins to rampant abuse of the want it need it spell. The show has usually taken the tack that when one makes what might loosely be called well-intentioned mistakes, these are things that can be readily forgiven. And in this particular episode, anything short of obvious forgiveness that Rainbow Dash's friends show her would seem far too much like Rainbow Dash was being punished for grieving, which is hardly a good message to send. The grief itself was punishment enough, I should think. I, like Dash, am just glad that this is a temporary grief that can and will pass, not a permanent loss that will endure. So, a good episode, in my estimation, and yet another hit to the feels in the season of feels. Keep 'em coming. My supply of liquid pride isn't in any danger of running out yet. If you wish to see my full reaction to My Little Pony Friendship is Magic Season 5, Episode 5, titled Thanks for the Memories, the link, as I mentioned earlier, is in the description. Feel free to leave any comments or likes for that reaction here on this Afterthoughts review. In addition, the full text of the original written Herd segments for my blind reaction to Thanks for the Memories is available in Google Drive under details in the video's description. And until next time, as always, kindly remember, y'all are awesome. Stay awesome.